the more I started working on myself and understanding that the way I communicate was not resonating necessarily with everyone, right? So I would, I'm like, everything is fine, but I wasn't addressing issues, right? It was hard for me. If I'm frustrated, it was really hard for me to communicate because you did not want to know what I was really thinking.
Right.
When I learned how to better communicate, I actually said more of what was on my mind because I knew it was going to land, because it wasn't coming out in an aggressive way, because I wasn't as frustrated. I was detached from the outcome. I just wanted to let you know, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And it was okay if you didn't see eye to eye with me. Whereas before it would, I would be so frustrated, I would just shut down.
Okay, and we're recording once again. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Fenton.
How are you?
I'm doing amazing. It's a beautiful day out there. The pollen seems to be, reducing a little bit. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, we got Claritin on deck. Okay, and we also have on deck today, we're doing something a little bit different. We have a guest with us today, and we're super excited to have the one and only Jessica Rivera, business and leadership coach, join us today to talk about her journey through personal development and how she's helping other people as well. But first, let's set the record straight. This is Products of Circumstance podcast with Ken Skeen and myself, Fenton Joseph. And we discuss mental health and mindset matters through the lens of Black men. This show is unscripted, unfiltered, and mostly unedited. We choose our topics randomly. Only Ken knows what we're going to talk about today, and he'll tell us in just a second. But first, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And most importantly, share with somebody who's on their personal development journey. Okay. And with that aside, let us please have a warm welcome. I don't know who's going to clap. We're going to clap for Jessica Rivera. It feels like drink champs. It's like drink champs. Like,
exactly. I love it. Right. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
For the people who aren't familiar with Jessica Rivera, can you tell us a little bit about your origin story, how you came to be here today? Just give people background about yourself.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. So I am a business and leadership coach, and really where I started was, and if we want to talk about my personal development story, which really started from when I was a youth, right? And I grew up in the inner city. I grew up in Brooklyn and Queens, and I had a kid really early at 19 years old. And for whatever reason, I thought it was I had to prove myself, probably to myself first, that I can do it, because it wasn't normal in my family to have a kid at such a young age and not be married. And so I always strove to make more money. It was really about the money at first. And I dove into corporate. I ended up in sales, and I had tons of imposter syndrome. I felt like I did everything wrong, right? I had a kid early. I never finished college. I felt like I did everything wrong and had something to prove, which the beauty of that was that it made me work really hard. And it really, I was always into personal development. The only books I've ever read in life were people's personal stories and how they got through the mess of their life. And that really helped me as I started becoming a leader in corporate. And really, I was in a male-dominated industry. I was usually the only woman at the table, definitely the only woman of color at the table. And I felt like I had to work extra hard. I felt like I was a triple negative, right? I was a woman, I was a Latina, and I was not as educated as everybody else in the room, or at least that's what I thought. And so as I started really wanting to understand how to better develop others, I had to first better develop myself. And I never felt like I had leaders who really fully supported me. I felt like they pushed me, but they didn't support me. And so through that journey, I went to actually a lot of therapy, because of my personal life, because of my business life. So I did a lot of therapy. And then through there, I also became certified in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Do you guys know that book?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. one of my favorites. And I read it when I was in my 20s, but I got certified in it when I was much older and already a leader in corporate. That really transformed the way I led people. And then I implemented it with my team and I saw it click. But I was happier, right? I had done the work on me first. And so then I was like, oh my God, I need everybody to have this. I need every leader to see that it's not as hard as we make it seem. Now, leading people is not easy, but we make it more difficult. I'll say that. So I hope that kind of sums it up. I tried to give you the very edited version.
No, that definitely sums it up. And now what hit me just now was, you felt like you were the odd one out because you had the three factors of being a woman, number one, being Latina, number two, and then you felt like you weren't as educated.
Right.
And one of the things we do talk about on the show is just because you have a school education doesn't mean you're educated.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, so I'm happy you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my thought process was like, I felt like street smarts had a lot of value. I knew it did for me. I didn't think others held it in that regard. So you were not going to be able to outwork me. Mm-hmm. And you were not going to savvy me. Like I had the swagger. I was in sales. So it was like, okay, I get it. But I felt like I had an edge because I was from New York, because I had street smarts, because I can be scrappy. So all of that, in my mind, was an edge, but I didn't believe that they saw it as an edge. So I felt like I had to overcompensate, which didn't always work well for me. I will say that, because people can feel like they're trying too hard, right? They can feel, it's not that I was being phony, but I really wasn't truly authentically myself either.
Okay. Why did you choose to go into coaching, and where do you draw your inspiration?
Yeah. So like I said, I was in corporate and I really loved my job. I really loved coaching people. I loved seeing my team win in a way that didn't feel as difficult as it did before through my framework and my tactics and the things that I coached them through, and really seeing their confidence build. Oh, that filled my heart. What I didn't love, though, was the corporate politics, right? And I always felt like I didn't think that I could be in corporate forever because I never felt, like I said, like I can be truly myself, right? So it was like I had my work persona and I had my home persona, which I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
That felt exhausting to me. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to just be like myself all the time. And so the more I started working on myself and understanding that the way I communicate was not resonating necessarily with everyone, right? So I would, I'm like, everything is fine, but I wasn't addressing issues, right? It was hard for me. If I'm frustrated, it was really hard for me to communicate because you did not want to know what I was really thinking.
Right. Hey, twin. Hey.
It's not going to land, right? So when I learned how to better communicate, I actually said more of what was on my mind because I knew it was going to land, because it wasn't coming out in an aggressive way, because I wasn't as frustrated. I was detached from the outcome. I just wanted to let you know, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And it was okay if you didn't see eye to eye with me. Whereas before it would I would be so frustrated, I would just shut down. And people can feel that. People can feel that. And it didn't work well in a corporate setting. Now, I will say that would happen at home too, but less of a filter, right? You're my people, you're my family, or my loved ones, and I'm just going to tell you what it is. And I blew up, and we'll talk about it next time. Right. Where I believe we can mesh the two, right? We should probably take some of that work persona, some of that filter home with us, right? Take a moment to think about it, and sometimes we should take some of that not filtered to work and really show up as your authentic self. Because when people get connected with you, when people get to know you like that, then people want to work with you more. And the way it happened for my career, things started coming to me a lot faster and a lot easier. I wasn't even trying that hard anymore. And it was like, oh, Jess, you want to be on this project? Oh, Jess, you get this extra promotion. Oh, yes, I got the biggest bonus. and on the years that it felt the easiest because I had done the work on myself.
All right, I want to just throw this out there because you're checking all my boxes. One of the things I say to my wife earlier on in our marriage when we were first figuring out how to communicate with one another, right? Because you're courting. The whole point is to put a ring on it. You hold some things back. You get married, you're together, and you're in it together, and a lot of things just become more real. So anyway, one of the things I would say to her is like, I'm sure you don't talk to people at work that way. Like, you can put on a nice way of saying things. You have the capacity to say something in a soft way. You do it at work every day. So I think it's important for people to, you have to bring a little bit of yourself to work and bring a little bit of your work self home. It's like you said, because you do have that duality. Anyway, we'll do a coffee because there's so much corporate stuff to unpack. That's a whole therapy session.
Oh yeah. For
So
sure.
it sounds like communication is a big part of your life. And is that something that carries into your coaching style?
Oh yeah. So I have a group coaching program called Impact Leadership. And I really work leaders through that, basically the framework that I went through, which was like, first we work on your mindset. Then we work on your communication style and the way in which you communicate to make sure that things can land. It could be anything as far as like pitching or, and this is a big one, communicating your boundaries and communicating tough messages. Because it's really difficult. Even if you're the nicest person, actually, when you're the nicest person on earth, it is really difficult for you to communicate a tough message. And sometimes you're like aggressive people like myself, you're communicating a tough message, but it's so straightforward that people are taken aback and it's not resonating with them. And so really learning how to communicate tough messages is a big one for me in Impact Leadership, which is my coaching group. So we start off with mindset, we go through communication, then we work on your strategy. Then we end it with self-leadership and leading others. Because the better you can lead yourself, the better you can lead others.
All right, so I want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I'm that person. I'm the person that's going to say it so direct that people are taken aback. They're like, whoa, dude, what's your problem? I'm like, I'm just listen to what I said. There's nothing behind it. I'm just asking you a question or making a statement. But it's so blunt.
Yeah.
People can't handle it. So what would be a good tip for somebody who has that direct, seemingly aggressive style of communication to kind of couch, I'm not going to lead you.
No, but it is. It's couching. That is the key. So I would say always start off with your intention, right? So let's say if you don't know the person, then I would say be more careful, be more intentional. But let's say you know a person, you know that they don't take things too offensively. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can be a little less calculated, or you don't have to coach it as much. But if you know the person's sensitive, right? And we know people like this all the time, you would want to make sure you state your intention. Hey, my intention here is to see you win. And so I'm going to give you some feedback and I want to make sure that you're here to receive it, right? Kind of set them up, let them know, hey, my goal here is to see you win. Or my goal here is to make you a better public speaker. Or my goal here is to give you some tidbits on whatever, like be open and honest. I don't believe in that, what is it, that sandwich method? You know, that sandwich method, You get something positive and then you give something negative. Right. I don't believe in that because your message gets completely lost. Yeah. The person also goes like, wait, what are they trying to say?
Mm-hmm. It's old tactics that just don't work, especially with this modern generation coming up now. I see it in the corporate world myself that we've been patting them on the head, telling them everything's going to be okay. But then when you give them whether it be positive or negative feedback, but sometimes they take positive feedback as negative. You have to be careful now and truly explain to the 9th degree of it's going to be okay, but you need to change this about yourself if you're going to move forward and advance. And it just, like you were just saying, it doesn't resonate because they're taking offense. And that's for our generation also. People take offense so quickly when you tell them about themselves. Well, instead of just opening up and listening.
I think it's how you do it, though. It's so that's one way, right? You want to state your intention. The other way, and that it really works well, is asking questions. So, for example, if I'm like, "Hey, how do you think that went?" And you're like, "Oh, it went great. It was perfect." Okay, tell me what went really great about it. Really open up your curiosity mindset. And the more you ask better questions, you get better answers. And 9 out of 10 times, when you can perfect the way you ask questions, they come to the conclusion on their own. And that it's so different and it makes your life a million times easier.
That's so good. All right. So I own a web design agency, right? And I'm really big on, even like with AI, this is chat GPT and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What I tell people is you have to get really good at prompts. You have to understand the input to get the right output.
Exactly.
And honestly, even if you're not all into ChatGPT, try Google. The better your search query in Google, the better question you formulate, the more, how should I say, Google's being intentional, but the better response you're going to get. And I find, and marriage is an amazing, testing ground for all these different, for all these different things, is when I approach my wife with an intention to here is what I would like to, this is what I want to get out of the conversation. And I'm very intentional about how I formulate my questions. I mean, we're in such an amazing place communication wise. First couple of years were crazy. Let me just tell you, it was landmines everywhere. I was stepping on landmines every day.
That's how you learn, right? That's how you learn.
You got to figure this stuff out, and it hurts. But one of the beautiful things about our marriage is that we never stopped communicating and working on improving our communication. And I think that's something that people could really benefit from. And I imagine, you have so many different tools to help people improve in their communication. Is there anything, Ken, I'm sorry, because I know we had questions, but I'm really interested.
No, I love off the rip. That's the whole point. It's unedited, unscripted. Let's go, baby. Go with it.
Two things, and I'll split them up. One, is there anything that you think is more important than communication, that you teach your clients or work with them on? And two, what are your thoughts on the female experience on, working on communication in the corporate world? Because what women tend to say, or what women say, can tend to be misconstrued based on tone and posture and things like that. So.
Yeah. The only thing more important than communication is mindset, right? The way you walk into a conversation. And so my allergies are on fire right now. My eye keeps on tearing. So sorry about that. You're not making me cry. Okay. So the only thing more important than communication is mindset. So for example, and really, because think about it, if I walk into a conversation and my mindset is already like, oh my God, I already know the person's going to blow up. I already know they're not going to receive me. I already know this and I already know that. That comes out in the conversation. It doesn't matter what you say. So the only thing more important than the way you communicate is your mindset walking into the conversation. So I'll start there. I think that answers the first question.
That's so good.
The next question is, how do women, the challenges that women have? Yeah. I think is not showing up as themselves, is being afraid to take up all the space in the room.
Yes.
Is them not really owning their position and their worth and their value. Oh, I see it over and over and over again. I mean, I even work with entrepreneurs that have very successful businesses and still don't show up in their own business. Like it blows my mind. But I think it's changing. I think women are really on some like, yep, I'm gonna show up, and if they don't like it, I don't care, and I love it. I love it.
I love that. Big fan. My lead developer that I work with is a female. My wife is a director in our organization. A lot of my interns that I work with are females. Like I think men naturally have that, I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna speak up. I'm gonna do what I got to do, and you're just gonna have to deal with me type of mindset. And I think it's anecdotally, I would say that women don't always show up with that same intensity and just being themselves. A lot of that is society.
A lot of that is society, and a lot of that who have women of color. I'm assuming some of these women are women of color that you'll deal with, and you can see it even more so in women of color because we are kind of, through society and through culture, are kind of like we're the nurturer. We are supposed to take the back seat.
Right.
We're not, we're supposed to, feed your husband, feed the kids, do all these things. Then you can eat. Then you can do. Then you can be. But you have to think about, even if when you think about Mother's Day and Father's Day, the mothers have to be with the kids. And Father's Day, typically, they're out golfing with their friends. Just like society. I'm not saying that it's still like that. I'm saying just when you look at things, typically, that's just what it is. Like you're not with your kids on Mother's Day. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Right? But meanwhile, dad on Father's Day goes and golfs or goes on a guy's trip. I don't know, whatever it is. Right? So I think a lot of that is.
I don't do that.
You get my point.
No.
But I think a lot of that is due to society and a lot of that is due to culture because we're supposed to take the backseat. So we're just not used to doing that. And so now we feel guilty when we're away from our kids. We feel guilty when we're putting ourselves first. We feel like there's a lot of guilt built in there because we're supposed to be taking care of everybody else first.
Mm. Yeah, that goes back generations. That's generations of just, and men and women have done that. Men have put it in that, even if you do have a job, your job after you're coming home from your career is to take care of this house, take care of these children, make sure there's a food on the table. While, most men, especially, I'm from Central America, Fenton is West Indian. So the culture is the man's supposed to put his foot up when he gets home and put his feet up and do nothing, maybe watch TV or, like you said, go play golf. I'm in the kitchen cooking. I know Fenton is also.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of my kids. I'm helping them with their homework, taking them to tennis lessons. Like,
I think the narrative is definitely changing, but what does it take to change a culture? A lot. It takes a lot. It's not going to happen overnight, right? And a lot of that still stands. I mean, even on social media, I still see it till this day. It's like, it blows my mind that men are still thinking that women are supposed to work, make as much money as you, and still come and take care of everything. It's mind-blowing to me, but I do know that the narrative is changing. So that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Well, thank you for helping to shift that. And I want to segue into, you said mindset is the number one thing. And I love that answer. My face lit up because I'm like, yeah, duh. That being the case, there's so many different coaches out there. And I'm not taking anything away from what you do. It's actually a nod because every coach, just like anyone in any business has their own perspective on things. No market is too saturated to get into because there's somebody that your message and your personal brand is going to resonate with. Your voice is meant to be heard by somebody's ears. And so my question to you is, in your experience, who does Jessica Rivera resonate with from a mindset perspective? Who are the people that are coming to you and that, we share this with the world and, we'd want to point people in your direction?
Yeah, so naturally, we attract who we are. So I definitely have a lot of Latinas who come to me, a lot of women of color who come to me. But throughout my life, I've actually coached more men. I have a New York aggressive attitude or whatever. So I guess I resonate with them a lot. And I have tons of guy friends in my life. I have 2 sons. So all of that, I guess, plays a part. And I do have a very much, like, I'm at home, like let's say we're at the bar, I'm chill, I'm fun. I love to live life and have a lot of fun. But once we're in work mode, I'm like, I'm about my business, right? So we're going to get things done and I'm going to help you execute whatever you want to execute on. But one of the things that every single person that has ever worked with me says is that I help them increase their confidence. I help them believe they can do a lot more than they thought they could. And so that always fills my heart.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I like that.
Ken, please stop me anytime because I'll talk.
No, we know you do. Go ahead.
I was talking with my wife last night, sitting right here at my desk, and I turned around to her and I was talking about how confidence at times can be an issue for me. I suffer from imposter syndrome. I'm really big on words. I don't even feel comfortable saying I suffer from, but I am working to overcome, feelings of imposter syndrome, feelings of inadequacy, and confidence is such a huge part of it. So I'm going somewhere. I'm a person who I feel very proud of my resume. I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm very proud of, and these are public-facing things. So give me your thoughts on why is it that even when you've accomplished things, we have such a short memory. we forget, dude, you just knocked this thing out the park. You just closed this deal, you whatever. And the next, thing comes in front of you and you're like, I'm not sure. Why do we do that, you think? And how can we kind of overcome that?
Yeah, I hate to sound like a therapist, but everything goes back to when we were kids. Everything goes back to when we were kids. And so again, when you think about just like how all of us were raised, there's a lot of competition, right? So it's like we all have A's, but who got the A first and who did what when? And there's a lot of competition in the way we were raised. And when you really think about how we are now, even with all of our accolades, we start thinking about, oh, was I good enough? Oprah says this quote, it doesn't matter who she interviewed, every single person that got off her stage, it didn't matter if it was like the killer or, Obama. They asked, how did I do? How did I do? Beyonce asked her, how did I do? Everybody wants to know and wants that recognition. The thing is, many times we don't speak to ourselves the way we would speak to others. And so we're like, oh, we could have done this better. We could have done that better. We could have done the other thing better. But meanwhile, if it was me asking you, hey, how did I do? You'd tell me about how amazing I am. Right? We don't speak to ourselves that way. So I think a lot of it is like you said, we have a short memory. We're entirely too critical on ourselves. And what I learned was that when we are not as critical on ourselves, we're also not as critical on others. And so when we can give ourselves that grace, we are more likely to give others grace. So your employee that makes a mistake, maybe you'll give them more grace because you give yourself more grace. When you're more critical on yourself, you're more critical on others, which then makes that leadership piece, because it all for me kind of goes back to self-leadership and how we lead others. It makes leading others more difficult when we're super critical on ourselves and we're super critical on others.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay,
Did that run into a little bow for you? Did that make sense?
No, that makes complete sense.
Absolutely amazing. And I have this book.
Hit the buttons.
I have this book here. It's called What to Say to Yourself When You Talk to Yourself.
I love it.
This one, along with...
What chapter are you up to? You're doing like 3 pages a day, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm done with the book. The book is done. And then there's the other one, The 4 Agreements.
The 4 Agreements.
Yeah, that's good.
It's my all-time favorite. If anyone ever asked me, like I do lives on Instagram or whatever, like what should I do first? That's the first book I tell them to read. 4 Agreements.
4 Agreements. Every
time. They say Tom Brady reads it once a year.
Right. It's something you need to come back to on a regular basis. And I will say, on my personal development journey, I've had to learn that what I say to myself, like that is the programming. You talked about getting off of Oprah's stage and saying, well, how did I do? It's like, well, what if that's seeking input from somebody else? And the input that we provide ourselves, according to these books that I've read here from very smart people, that is the most important programming that we can do, is tell ourselves how amazing we are, how capable we are. I did a great job, and things like that. So that's really great to hear you bring that up, because people need to understand you got to get up every day and say to yourself, I am it. I am the one. I compete with nobody. And now at 42, I say that stuff in front of other people. Right. My wife said something to me one day about, I talk about my wife a lot because I love her, about comparing me to somebody else who does something similar than I do. And I was very knee-jerk, like, I don't care about this. There's nobody else. It's just me. Like, I am the only game in town. And it came off probably a little like aggressive, but I have to protect this. I can't allow any negativity, no comparison, nothing, because I talk to myself so highly about myself.
Yeah. A therapist told me many, many years ago, the most important conversation is the one you'll have with yourself. And that's it. That kind of sums it up. But when you think about, okay, well, what is that conversation? And it brings back another thought, which is one of the things I started doing early on in my self development was questioning every single thought. Right? So if I'm frustrated, okay, why? The second you ask yourself, wait a minute, why am I really frustrated? Like, you start calming down. You're no longer as frustrated as you were 2 seconds ago, because it's like, okay, wait, why do I truly feel this way? And when you start questioning all of your thoughts, you really can get down to either the root of issues or really understand, okay, where's this truly coming from? Is this a story I've been telling myself forever and this is just a new iteration of it? Or is it something I'm truly feeling? Like, what is going on here? So one of the things I would suggest for everybody to do is question all of your thoughts.
Love that.
Yeah, I definitely love that, because it's true. We tend to put ourselves down. I mean, the outside, the nature of it is that people will try to put you down, but we will put ourselves down first. And like I tell my kids, especially when I talk to my daughter, I let her know, listen, these negative thoughts you keep putting in your head that you're not good enough, or you think you're going to fail at this. Listen, just wake up every day and tell yourself you're amazing. Start off the day with that. And if you do bad in a test or you lost a race or whatever it may be, it doesn't mean that you should put a negative thought in your brain that, I'm not good enough. Just say, next time I'll do better. And I did my best. Next time I'll do better. I keep telling her, every day you should strive to be a better version of yourself. And if you can do that, and like what you do with your coaching and making people feel like I'm a better version every single day, every single moment, that helps big time mentally.
Yeah.
It takes practice, though. It takes a lot of practice to do that. To be so positive on a daily basis, it takes practice, because you're going to still have negative thoughts, including myself. I'm sure, I'm not speaking for you two, but I'm sure you guys have negative thoughts once in a while that you really just got to snap yourself out and say, no, it's going to be okay.
Well, I don't believe in I don't believe in like that toxic positivity where it's like everything is rainbows and sunshine.
Oh, no.
I don't believe that is true. And I feel like that is more repressing feelings than being positive, and that negativity will come out. So I don't believe in that. But what I do believe in is, for me, the success is when I'm frustrated and let's say I'm upset about something and it took me, my old self, let's say it took me a week to recover or 48 hours, and then I maybe calm down. Now it takes me less. So that's success for me. I don't have to be positive every single day. But let's say when I do get frustrated, if I start questioning, okay, well, why am I truly frustrated with this person? Why are they triggering me? Why is this truly happening? That, to me, even that is a success.
Right. Yeah, we had an episode about talking about triggers, actually. And when people trigger you, you have to look into yourself, because it's not their fault that they're triggering you. Yeah. You have to figure out what your triggers are and correct them. It's tough. It's not easy, because we talked about it before about, childhood trauma. Things go back to your childhood. Things are in your genes from your parents as well, that things will trigger you. But like you just said, Jessica, instead of letting 48 hours go by or maybe 2 weeks go by, you try to fix it within, less time, so you don't have this negative. Because negative thoughts, they eat away at you. They eat away at your brain, your soul, your body. And we can't hold on to that toxic energy. So no, not everything is going to be flowers and sunshine, but you've got to try to get back to that light and not stay in a dark place in your mind.
Yeah.
Jessica, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What? I love
You should charge him. You got to charge him now, because now at this point,
the bill is in the mail.
The bill's in the mail.
This question is, I'm going to spread the bill with everybody who's going to get the answer to this question. What would you say to somebody who's thinking about becoming a coach? Mm-hmm. What are some questions that they should ask themselves before they step into that arena?
Well, a general rule of thumb is, to be an expert at anything, you would have had to do at least 10,000 hours in that respective field, right? And so when I started asking myself, what is it that I want to do? What really brings me joy? I've certainly put in my 10,000 hours in coaching and developing people. And that is what brought me the most joy. When I was in corporate, again, I said, I really liked my job. I really loved working with my people. But when we would have conversations about anything other than coaching my folks, how great they're doing, what we're working on, things like that, I would be annoyed, because the numbers were there. Everything else is already happening. So that's when I realized, for me, that's what really brought me joy. Now, coaching is a big industry right now. A lot of people are becoming coaches. And I will say, if you don't like working with people, you should not be a coach, because you are going to be challenged by your clients. Things will come up where you may not see eye to eye. Things will happen. And I've seen coaches complain about their audience, complain about their clients. And I just don't understand it. The people part is my favorite part. It's like, oh, there's a problem. Let's work through it, right? Like that gets me excited. I was working with somebody yesterday who's actually a man. He is a badass in his industry. He has killed it for years and years. He has a little bit of a slump, like a little bit of a downturn in his career, he feels. And he's discounting all the millions of years of greatness that he put on. And I'm like, wait a minute. Let's get back to it. But that right away, it gets me so excited to help him realize, wait a minute, you are killing it. You have killed it for this long. You are a pioneer in your industry. Like he's in Forbes. He's been in, tons of publications, and he's being down on himself. And so I get so excited. It's like, oh, we're going to turn this around. I can't wait to help you make more money, be on more platforms, and figure out what it is that truly brings you joy so that we can work on that together.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
Damn, it's so good. And you're so good. You actually answered my last question, sort of, which was, what does success look like for your clients? I'm going to hedge that it's greater confidence, but you, in your own words, please.
Yeah, because what does greater confidence even mean, right? What does that even mean? I remember my dad used to say, you have to love yourself, like from when we were kids. And I'm like, yeah, you just have to love yourself. What the heck does that mean? Right? So it could show up, loving yourself shows up like in boundaries and things like that. So confidence shows up in you even having a difficult conversation, right? When we don't have the confidence to have a difficult conversation, we walk away from that not liking ourselves because we didn't show up the way we wanted to, right? So when you have greater confidence, you're able to tackle those things that make you scared, that fear is on the top of it, but the reality is behind it. There's probably more excitement than there is fear. So we're going to work on that and unpack that. For example, let me give you an example. I had a woman who joined my coaching group last cohort. She's great. She's amazing. She's done great things in her life. One of the things she was afraid of doing was public speaking. Just made her really nervous. Meanwhile, I would hear her speak and she sounds amazing. What's going on? So at the end of the 6 months, do you know she put on a show for one of her clients? She hosted it in front of 500 people.
That's cool.
Like, to me, that's success. I'm like, to see her just step in and embody her next level of leadership for herself.
Wow.
It's like, that brings me joy. I could cry right now.
Wow. Like a proud parent.
It feels like that's exactly what it feels like. It's like, oh, my people, like I just, and we end up getting so close, and I'm like all invested in their success. Their success is my success, obviously. So I'm just super invested in seeing them take action. That is like, it's everything for me.
Well,
I applaud that.
Right. That's a clap moment. Right?
That is a clap moment.
That's a Drink Champs moment.
Hit one of those buttons.
I have the buttons here. Hold on. Hold on.
Everyone's got buttons. I have no buttons.
Some sound effects.
There we go. I just want to put some links out there. So Jessica, you can find her on Instagram at Coach Jessica Rivera.
Yeah.
Also has a website, JR as in Jessica Rivera. So jrcoaching.net. Mm-hmm. We'll put links on when we put the episode out though. So again, Instagram is Coach Jessica Rivera. Website is jrcoaching.net. Again, watch this episode over and over. Maybe you get some quick gems. But if you definitely want some help with coaching in your business or just positive feedback, get in touch with Jessica. She does offer some free links on her website that can maybe get you involved, and you can get some future assistance.
Yeah, don't take up too much of the time because that bill's finna be crazy.
Oh, so
She's about to send me her Cash App link.
no. I try on the regular for free, so don't worry about it. I'll just take a pass on this one. But if you hang out with me on IG, like my whole life, I'm like I put it all out there. Now it's like all the fear is gone. This is what it is. You get what you get. You'll see a little partying. You'll see a lot of communication talk. You'll see a lot of all of it. All of it's there. My whole life is on IG at this point. But I do have a retreat coming up in October. So if anyone's interested,
there you go.
If anyone's interested in going on an amazing retreat, it's in October 4th through the 8th. A women's retreat. It's going to be small and intimate, and we're doing all things really leveling up your life through leadership, through leading yourself better. Now, guys, I was deathly afraid of public speaking myself. Just that way.
Really?
Yes. Oh my God, I hated it. I still get nervous. It still happens, but I knew it was important for my career, so that's why I had to tackle it. I wouldn't even give a toast at a family function. I wouldn't speak at all.
Wow.
So there's it'll be an amazing event, amazing retreat on a beach. We're in a private villa, and 4 days of being pampered and leveling up your mindset. So it's going to be great.
That's awesome.
Please sign up for that. I'm not going, but somebody get a ticket on my behalf and enjoy yourself. Jessica, you are fantastic. This was really, really awesome. I very much enjoyed chatting with you. You're a powerhouse. I want to say to everybody who's listening, let's please normalize listening to women and respecting women's voices without applying a label to it. I don't love the word aggressive. I think that's a narrative that really needs to change. We need to just respect women showing up as their whole selves and hearing them out the way we would any man, because you're not going to get offended when a man says something to you because he's just saying what needs to be said. And I think we really need to, kill that narrative. And I say that publicly as a husband, to a woman who's high up, in her career and, has to, deals with things like that, be as a woman of color, this person's aggressive and it's like, stop it. We're saying what needs to be said. Keep saying what needs to be said. Keep sharing your wisdom and your unique voice. I appreciate you so much.
Wait, you forgot to read the teleprompter.
Oh, right. Yeah. Please like, subscribe, and share with somebody on their personal development journey. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Take care.